These motorcycles have killed more riders than any others in history. Some are fast, some are poorly designed, and some are just plain evil on two wheels. Today, we're counting down the 20 bikes that turned riding dreams into nightmares. Let's start with the bike that holds the record for killing more riders than any other machine ever built, and it's probably not what you're expecting. At number 20, Honda CBR 900RR Fireblade. The original 1992 Honda CBR 900RR Fireblade earned its dangerous reputation by delivering superbike performance in a deceptively manageable package. Honda's engineers created something revolutionary, a 900cc engine producing 122 horsepower in a chassis weighing just 456 pounds, lighter than most 600cc bikes of its era. This power-to-weight ratio proved lethal for inexperienced riders who bought Fireblades thinking they were getting a reasonable step up from smaller bikes. The bike's smooth power delivery masked its explosive potential until riders found themselves accelerating far beyond their skill level without realizing the danger. The Fireblade's handling characteristics compounded the problem. Its razor-sharp steering and aggressive geometry demanded precise inputs that many riders couldn't provide consistently. Small mistakes resulted in high-speed crashes because the bike amplified both skill and errors equally. Insurance companies quickly identified the Fireblade as a high-risk motorcycle, with casualty rates significantly exceeding other bikes in its class. The combination of accessible performance and unforgiving behavior created a perfect storm for rider injuries and fatalities. While later generations became more refined, the original Fireblade established a template for dangerously capable motorcycles that looked friendly but bit hard when pushed beyond reasonable limits. The Fireblade killed with kindness, but some bikes skip the pleasantries and try to murder you from the moment you twist the throttle. At number 19, Ducati 916. The Ducati 916 combined stunning Italian design with handling characteristics that could turn deadly without warning. Its 916cc desmodromic valve V-twin produced 114 horsepower while showcasing Ducati's racing heritage through aggressive ergonomics and uncompromising suspension tuning. The 916's danger lay in its Jekyll and Hyde personality. At moderate speeds, it felt manageable and sophisticated, but approaching its limits revealed vicious characteristics that caught riders unprepared. The bike's rear weight bias and aggressive geometry created sudden handling transitions that could pitch inexperienced riders into high-speed crashes. Ducati's racing-oriented suspension setup prioritized track performance over street forgiveness. The firm damping and minimal suspension travel meant road irregularities could unsettle the chassis violently, especially during aggressive cornering. Many 916 crashes occurred when riders encountered mid-corner bumps or surface changes that the bike couldn't absorb gracefully. The maintenance requirements added another danger dimension. Ducati's complex desmodromic valve system required precise timing adjustments every 6,000 miles. Neglected maintenance could cause catastrophic engine failure, leaving riders stranded or worse during high-speed operation. Combined with its premium price that attracted ambitious but inexperienced riders, the 916 earned a reputation for spectacular crashes that often resulted from riders exceeding either their skills or the bike's unforgiving limits. Ducati built a beautiful killer, but this next machine was designed specifically for one purpose: going fast enough to terrify professional racers. At number 18, Kawasaki H2R. The Kawasaki H2R represents the pinnacle of motorcycle danger, a supercharged 998cc inline-4 producing over 300 horsepower in a package designed exclusively for closed-course use. Kawasaki built this machine to explore the absolute limits of motorcycle performance, creating something too dangerous for public roads. The H2R's supercharged engine delivers power delivery that defies comprehension. Peak torque arrives with such violence that wheelies become unavoidable, even in higher gears. Professional test riders report that full throttle acceleration feels more like controlled falling than traditional motorcycle dynamics. Kawasaki's aerodynamic bodywork includes winglets designed to generate downforce at extremely high speeds, but these same aerodynamic aids create instability at lower speeds where most riders operate. The bike becomes genuinely dangerous below 100 miles per hour because its aerodynamics weren't designed for normal riding speeds. The H2R's electronics package includes multiple traction control modes, but even the most restrictive settings allow wheel spin that would be catastrophic on lesser bikes. The bike's power output simply exceeds what current tire technology can manage safely, creating situations where electronics cannot compensate for physics. Track day organizations often ban H2Rs from amateur events because their performance capability exceeds what most experienced riders can handle safely, even in controlled environments with professional safety support. The H2R was built to be dangerous, but imagine if someone took that same philosophy and made it street legal. At number 17, Kawasaki Ninja H2. Kawasaki's street-legal H2 delivers supercharged performance that pushes motorcycle danger into uncharted territory. With 197 horsepower from its supercharged 998cc inline-4, the H2 provides explosive acceleration that can overwhelm even experienced riders without warning. The supercharger's instant response creates power delivery characteristics unlike any naturally aspirated motorcycle. Traditional bikes build power progressively, giving riders time to adapt to increasing speed. The H2's supercharged engine delivers massive torque instantly, creating acceleration that can cause riders to lose control before they realize what's happening. Modern traction control and wheelie control systems struggle to manage the H2's power output effectively. The electronics intervene constantly during normal acceleration, creating unpredictable power interruptions that can unsettle riders expecting consistent power delivery. When electronic aids fail or get overwhelmed, the bike's raw power becomes genuinely dangerous. The H2's aerodynamic design creates high-speed stability at the expense of low-speed maneuverability. Kawasaki's winglets and bodywork generate downforce above 130 miles per hour, but create turbulence and instability at normal street speeds where most riding occurs. Insurance companies classify the H2 as an extreme risk motorcycle, with some refusing coverage entirely. The combination of accessible street-legal operation and track-only performance capabilities makes it one of the most dangerous bikes available to civilian riders. Supercharged street bikes are terrifying, but some motorcycles achieve legendary danger status through pure, unfiltered brutality. At number 16, Suzuki Hayabusa. The Suzuki GSX-R750 Hayabusa earned its dangerous reputation by making 200+ mile-per-hour speeds accessible to average riders. Its 1340cc inline-4 engine produces 197 horsepower while maintaining deceptively gentle power delivery that masks its lethal potential until riders find themselves traveling at speeds beyond human reaction capability. The Hayabusa's aerodynamic design prioritizes high-speed stability over handling agility, creating a motorcycle that encourages speed but punishes mistakes severely. Its long wheelbase and relaxed geometry make it stable in straight lines but slow to respond in emergency situations, particularly during sudden direction changes required to avoid obstacles. Suzuki's engineering success in creating a 200-mile-per-hour motorcycle led to widespread speed-related accidents, as riders discovered they could achieve previously unimaginable velocities on public roads. The bike's smooth power delivery and excellent wind protection made high speeds feel manageable until physics intervened violently. The Hayabusa's weight, 586 pounds wet, compounds its danger in emergency situations. The bike's mass makes quick direction changes difficult and requires significantly more braking distance than lighter motorcycles. Riders accustomed to smaller bikes often underestimate the additional skill required to manage the Hayabusa's size and weight. European markets implemented speed limiters specifically because of the Hayabusa's capability, recognizing that unlimited speed potential in civilian hands created unacceptable public safety risks. The Hayabusa kills with speed, but this next bike preferred a more direct approach, trying to throw you off immediately. At number 15, Yamaha YZF-R1, 1998 to 2001. The first-generation Yamaha YZF-R1 revolutionized superbike performance while establishing new standards for motorcycle danger. Its 998cc inline-4 engine produced 150 horsepower in a 177-kilogram package, creating power-to-weight ratios that exceeded most riders' ability to control safely. Yamaha's aggressive chassis geometry made the R1 incredibly quick steering, but also created hair-trigger responses that amplified rider errors catastrophically. Small throttle or steering inputs produced dramatic results, making the bike unforgiving of the imprecise control techniques that worked acceptably on less powerful machines. The R1's fuel injection system, advanced for its time, delivered power in a way that caught many riders unprepared. Unlike carbureted competitors with predictable power curves, the R1's throttle response varied significantly based on engine temperature, altitude, and riding conditions, creating inconsistency that contributed to loss of control accidents. Suspension tuning prioritized track performance over street usability, resulting in harsh damping that couldn't absorb road irregularities gracefully. Mid-corner bumps or surface changes could unsettle the chassis violently, causing high-speed crashes when the suspension couldn't maintain tire contact with the pavement. The combination of cutting-edge performance and uncompromising behavior made the early R1 a frequent contributor to motorcycle accident statistics, particularly among riders who underestimated the skill required to safely operate such an aggressive machine. Early R1s were track bikes pretending to be street bikes, but our next entry was honest about its intentions from day one. At number 14, Aprilia RSV4. The Aprilia RSV4 brought MotoGP-derived technology to the street, creating a motorcycle too sophisticated and dangerous for most civilian riders. Its 999cc V4 engine produces over 180 horsepower, while incorporating electronics and chassis technology directly descended from Aprilia's Grand Prix racing program. The RSV4's V4 engine configuration delivers power characteristics that differ dramatically from traditional inline-4 sport bikes. The engine's firing order creates unique torque delivery that can catch riders unprepared, particularly during aggressive acceleration or when leaned over in corners, where traction is already compromised. Aprilia's sophisticated electronics package includes multiple traction control modes, wheelie control, and engine braking control, but these systems require extensive understanding to use safely. Inexperienced riders often disable safety systems they don't understand, eliminating the technological aids designed to manage the bike's dangerous performance. The chassis geometry and suspension tuning reflect Aprilia's racing priorities, creating handling characteristics that demand professional-level precision. The bike rewards perfect technique with exceptional performance, but punishes mistakes with violent crashes that often exceed riders' protective gear capabilities. European insurance data shows the RSV4 has among the highest claim rates in the superbike category, reflecting both its appeal to ambitious riders and its unforgiving nature when operated beyond reasonable limits by riders lacking sufficient experience. Subscribe now, because the bikes we're revealing next make these modern machines look like training wheels. Modern superbikes hide their danger behind electronics, but this legendary machine announced its murderous intentions with every kick of the starter. At number 13, Honda CR250R. Two-stroke. The Honda CR250R two-stroke dirt bike earned its dangerous reputation through explosive power delivery that could launch inexperienced riders into catastrophic crashes without warning. Its 249cc two-stroke single-cylinder engine produced approximately 45 horsepower, But the power arrived with such sudden violence that control became nearly impossible for unprepared riders. Two-stroke engines deliver power in sharp bursts rather than the progressive acceleration of four-stroke motors. The CR250R's power band kicked in around 6,000 revolutions per minute, with enough force to lift the front wheel violently, often catching riders off guard and causing them to loop backward or lose control completely. The bike's lightweight construction, around 220 pounds, amplified the engine's violent characteristics. Less experienced riders found the combination of sudden power and minimal weight created handling dynamics they couldn't manage safely, particularly when jumping or navigating technical terrain where precise throttle control was essential. Honda's suspension tuning prioritized racing performance over user-friendliness, resulting in harsh damping that could buck riders off during aggressive riding. The firm suspension settings that worked well for professional motocross racers proved dangerous for recreational riders who lacked the strength and technique to control the bike properly. Emergency rooms near motocross tracks frequently treated CR250R-related injuries, as the bike's uncompromising performance characteristics regularly exceeded riders' skill levels, particularly among younger or less experienced dirt bike enthusiasts. Two-stroke dirt bikes were weapons, but at least they stayed on dirt. This next machine brought that same violence to public roads. At number 12, Kawasaki 500 H1 Mach III. The Kawasaki 500 H1 Mach III terrorized the motorcycle world in the early 1970s with its three-cylinder two-stroke engine that produced 60 horsepower in a chassis designed for half that power. Kawasaki created an early superbike that combined explosive acceleration with handling characteristics that bordered on suicidal. The H1's 499cc three-cylinder two-stroke engine delivered power with such sudden violence that wheelies were inevitable, not optional. The engine's peaky power band meant relatively calm acceleration below 4,000 revolutions per minute, followed by explosive thrust that could overwhelm unsuspecting riders instantly. Kawasaki's chassis design couldn't handle the engine's power output safely. The bike's frame flexed under acceleration, creating unpredictable handling that made high-speed riding a gamble with physics. The front end became light under acceleration, reducing steering control precisely when riders needed it most. The H1's two-stroke engine required precise fuel mixing and frequent maintenance that many riders neglected, leading to seizures, fires, and mechanical failures that could cause catastrophic accidents. The engine's temperamental nature meant mechanical problems often occurred without warning during operation. Insurance companies quickly identified the H1 as an extreme risk, with many refusing coverage entirely. The bike's reputation for spectacular crashes and rider injuries made it one of the first motorcycles specifically targeted by safety advocates and legislative restrictions. The Mach III earned its killer reputation honestly, but some bikes managed to be even more dangerous with less power. Number 11. Yamaha RD350. The Yamaha RD350 proved that displacement numbers don't determine danger levels. Its 347cc parallel twin two-stroke engine produced around 39 horsepower, but delivered that power with such sudden intensity that the bike became known as a widowmaker among motorcycle enthusiasts of the 1970s. The RD350's lightweight construction, around 320 pounds, combined with its peaky two-stroke power band, created handling dynamics that caught many riders unprepared. The bike felt docile during normal acceleration until the power band engaged around 6,000 revolutions per minute, then transformed into an uncontrollable missile that could launch inexperienced riders into the stratosphere. Yamaha's chassis design prioritized weight savings over stability, resulting in a motorcycle that became increasingly unmanageable as speeds increased. The bike's tendency to develop high-speed wobbles made sustained high-speed riding dangerous, particularly for riders who didn't understand proper body positioning and throttle control techniques. The RD350's two-stroke engine required pre-mixed fuel and frequent maintenance that many street riders ignored. leading to engine seizures that could lock the rear wheel suddenly during operation. These mechanical failures often occurred without warning, causing accidents that reflected maintenance neglect rather than rider error. Despite its relatively modest power output, the RD350's explosive delivery and unforgiving handling characteristics resulted in accident rates that exceeded many larger, more powerful motorcycles of its era. Small two-strokes were assassins, but when manufacturers started building bigger two-strokes, they created something truly terrifying. At number 10, Kawasaki 750 H2 Mach IV. The Kawasaki 750 H2 Mach IV represented the pinnacle of two-stroke street bike danger, combining a 748cc three-cylinder two-stroke engine with chassis technology that couldn't safely manage its explosive power output. Kawasaki's engineers created a motorcycle that challenged the laws of physics and frequently won. The H2's engine produced approximately 74 horsepower, but power delivery arrived with such sudden violence that controlling the bike required professional-level skill and constant vigilance. The three-cylinder configuration created uneven firing pulses that made smooth acceleration nearly impossible, particularly in the engine's vicious power band above 5,000 revolutions per minute. Kawasaki's frame design proved inadequate for the engine's torque output, creating a motorcycle that flexed and twisted under acceleration. This chassis flex made the bike unpredictable during hard acceleration, particularly when combined with the engine's tendency to lift the front wheel violently when the power band engaged. The H2's handling characteristics became genuinely dangerous above 80 miles per hour, where aerodynamic instability combined with chassis flex to create wobbles that could develop into tank slappers without warning. Many riders reported that the bike felt like it was trying to shake itself apart at high speeds. Magazine tests of the era described the H2 as requiring nerves of steel and noted that it was not suitable for novice riders under any circumstances. Two-stroke triples were psychotic, but European manufacturers had their own ideas about how to kill riders efficiently. At number 9, Laverda Jota. The Laverda Jota earned its fearsome reputation through a combination of brutal power delivery and agricultural build quality that created one of the most dangerous motorcycles of the 1970s. Its 981cc three-cylinder engine produced 90 horsepower, while showcasing Italian engineering priorities that valued performance over rider safety. Laverda's engine design created vibration levels that could literally shake the motorcycle apart during sustained high-speed operation. The unbalanced three-cylinder configuration produced resonant frequencies that loosened bolts, cracked frames, and caused mechanical failures that often occurred without warning during aggressive riding. The Jota's handling characteristics reflected Laverda's racing heritage rather than street practicality. Its aggressive geometry and firm suspension tuning made the bike quick steering, but also created instability that could develop into uncontrollable wobbles, particularly when combined with the engine's severe vibration. Italian build quality during Laverda's era meant that electrical systems frequently failed, brakes faded unpredictably, and suspension components wore prematurely. These mechanical unreliabilities created dangerous situations where riders lost critical systems during operation, often with catastrophic results. The Jota's reputation for sudden mechanical failures and unpredictable handling made it a motorcycle that demanded constant attention and maintenance. Riders who treated it like a typical motorcycle often discovered too late that Laverda required specialized knowledge and frequent mechanical attention to operate safely. Italian bikes were beautiful but deadly, but nothing prepared the world for what happened when Japanese manufacturers decided to build the ultimate performance machine. At number 8, Suzuki GSX-R750, 1985 and 1987. The original Suzuki GSX-R750 revolutionized motorcycle performance while establishing new benchmarks for civilian motorcycle danger. Its 749cc inline-4 engine produced 100 horsepower in a 179-kilogram aluminum frame, creating the first true replica of Grand Prix racing technology available to street riders. Suzuki's engineers prioritized track performance over street usability, resulting in a motorcycle with aggressive ergonomics, harsh suspension, and throttle response that demanded racing-level precision. The GSX-R's power delivery was instantaneous and unforgiving, making small throttle errors produce dramatic and often dangerous results. The bike's aluminum frame and aggressive geometry created handling that was simultaneously precise and violent. Small steering inputs produced large direction changes, making the GSX-R incredibly quick, but also prone to sudden instability if riders applied imprecise control inputs, particularly during emergency maneuvers. Suzuki's suspension tuning reflected pure racing priorities, with damping rates that couldn't absorb road irregularities gracefully. The harsh suspension meant that mid-corner bumps or surface changes could unsettle the chassis violently, often causing high-speed crashes when the bike couldn't maintain tire contact with the road. The original GSX-R established the template for modern superbikes while demonstrating that race replica performance came with correspondingly dangerous handling characteristics that exceeded most street riders' ability to manage safely. The original Gixxer brought racing to the streets, but this next bike took a different approach to danger, making insane power from a tiny engine. At number 7, Honda NSR500V. The Honda NSR500V represented the pinnacle of two-stroke Grand Prix technology adapted for street use, creating a motorcycle so dangerous that most markets banned it entirely. Its 499cc V4 two-stroke engine produced over 130 horsepower while weighing just 130 kilograms, establishing power-to-weight ratios that challenged human reflexes. Honda's V4 two-stroke configuration delivered power with such explosive violence that throttle control became an exercise in managing controlled chaos. The engine's power band engaged with sufficient force to lift the front wheel in any gear, making wheelie control a constant requirement rather than an occasional thrill. The NSR 500V's chassis technology came directly from Honda's Grand Prix program, incorporating suspension and frame designs that prioritized ultimate performance over street practicality. The resulting motorcycle required professional-level skill to operate safely, with handling characteristics that punished imperfect technique catastrophically. Honda's electronic systems of the era couldn't manage the engine's power output effectively, meaning riders faced the full violence of Grand Prix-level performance without modern traction control or wheelie control systems. The result was a motorcycle that could overwhelm even experienced riders without warning. Most countries restricted or banned the NSR 500V specifically because its performance exceeded what civilian riders could handle safely. The few markets that allowed street registration required extensive rider training and certification programs that most enthusiasts couldn't complete successfully. How many of these killer machines have you actually seen in person? And which one would you be brave enough to ride? Let me know in the comments. Grand Prix replicas were terrifying, but sometimes the most dangerous bikes came from manufacturers trying to build something completely different. At number 6, Bimota Tesi. The Bimota Tesi attempted to revolutionize motorcycle design through hub center steering that eliminated traditional forks, creating innovative technology that proved more dangerous than the conventional systems it replaced. Bimota's engineering experiment produced handling characteristics that defied riders' expectations and experience. Hub center steering changed fundamental motorcycle dynamics in ways that caught experienced riders unprepared. Traditional counter-steering techniques didn't work predictably, and the bike's response to steering inputs felt alien compared to conventional motorcycles. Riders who relied on muscle memory developed over years of riding found their instincts actively dangerous on the Tesi. The Tesi's unconventional suspension geometry created feedback characteristics that didn't communicate road conditions effectively to riders. Traditional motorcycles provide tactile information through the handlebars sensors that helps riders understand traction conditions and surface changes. The Tesi's hub center steering filtered out this crucial information, leaving riders operating without essential feedback. Bimota's limited production meant that few mechanics understood the Tesi's complex systems, creating maintenance challenges that could result in catastrophic failures. The bike's unconventional design required specialized knowledge that most service providers couldn't provide, leaving owners with potentially dangerous mechanical problems. The combination of unfamiliar handling characteristics and limited support infrastructure made the Tesi dangerous even for experienced riders who couldn't adapt their techniques to its unconventional behavior patterns. Experimental designs proved dangerous, but some bikes achieved legendary killer status through pure mechanical brutality. At number 5, Moto Guzzi Le Mans. The Moto Guzzi Le Mans combined Italian styling with mechanical characteristics that made it one of the most unpredictable motorcycles ever produced. Its 844cc longitudinal V-twin engine created unique gyroscopic effects that produced handling behavior unlike any other motorcycle, often catching riders completely off guard. Guzzi's longitudinal crankshaft orientation meant that engine gyroscopic forces affected the motorcycle's handling in ways that defied conventional motorcycle dynamics. Throttle inputs could cause unexpected chassis movements, particularly during cornering where the gyroscopic effects interacted with leaning forces to create unpredictable results. The Le Mans shaft drive system added another layer of unpredictability through rear-wheel jacking effects that could lift or compress the rear suspension unexpectedly during throttle transitions. These sudden suspension movements could unsettle the chassis during cornering, creating loss of control situations that riders couldn't anticipate or correct. Italian electrical systems of the era meant that lighting, ignition, and charging systems frequently failed without warning, creating dangerous situations where riders lost essential systems during operation. The bike's complex electrical architecture was notorious for intermittent failures that were difficult to diagnose and repair. Moto Guzzi's limited dealer network meant that many Le Mans owners couldn't access proper maintenance and repair services, leading to deferred maintenance that made the bikes even more dangerous through mechanical neglect. Italian engineering created beautiful chaos, but this next machine was designed with a single purpose: to be the fastest thing on two wheels. At number 4, Dodge Tomahawk. The Dodge Tomahawk represented automotive engineering's most dangerous motorcycle experiment. A 500 horsepower V10 engine from a Viper sports car mounted in a motorcycle chassis that defied conventional physics. Chrysler created a machine that existed purely to explore the absolute limits of motorcycle performance. The Tomahawk's 8.3-liter V10 engine produced enough power to overwhelm any tire technology available, making traction control impossible and acceleration a battle against the laws of physics. The engine's torque output could spin the rear wheel at any speed, creating situations where electronic aids couldn't compensate for the fundamental mismatch between power and traction. Chrysler's four-wheel design attempted to manage the engine's power through dual rear wheels, but this solution created its own problems. The bike's weight distribution and unusual geometry made it handle unlike any conventional motorcycle, requiring completely different riding techniques that no rider could learn safely. The Tomahawk's theoretical top speed exceeded 300 miles per hour, but its aerodynamic design wasn't developed for such velocities. Wind tunnel testing revealed that the bike would become aerodynamically unstable at speeds well below its power potential, creating situations where physics would intervene violently. Only 10 Tomahawks were built, and none were intended for actual operation. Chrysler recognized that the machine's performance capabilities exceeded what any safety equipment or rider skill could manage, making it purely a technological demonstration rather than a functional motorcycle. The Tomahawk was insane by design, but our top 3 bikes achieved their killer reputations through genuine engineering failures. At number 3, Yamaha FZ750. The Yamaha FZ750 earned its dangerous reputation through a combination of innovative technology and unpredictable behavior that made it one of the most treacherous motorcycles of the 1980s. Its 749cc inline-4 engine featured 5-valve per-cylinder technology that created power delivery characteristics unlike any previous motorcycle. Yamaha's 5-valve configuration produced exceptional peak power, but delivered it through a power band so narrow and violent that riders couldn't anticipate when the engine would suddenly come alive. The transition from mild acceleration to explosive power happened with such suddenness that many riders lost control before they realized what was occurring. The FZ750's chassis design couldn't handle the engine's power characteristics safely. The bike's geometry and suspension tuning were developed for more predictable power delivery, making the combination of violent engine response and inadequate chassis control genuinely dangerous, particularly during aggressive acceleration. Yamaha's cooling system design created overheating problems that could cause sudden power loss or engine seizure during aggressive riding. The bike's complex cooling requirements meant that many owners didn't maintain the system properly, leading to catastrophic failures that often occurred without warning during operation. The FZ750's electrical system was notoriously unreliable, with ignition failures that could cause sudden power loss during high-speed operation. These electrical problems were difficult to diagnose and often led to dangerous situations where riders lost power unexpectedly during critical moments. The FZ750 was unpredictably violent, but our next bike took mechanical failure to an art form. At number 2, Suzuki RE5. The Suzuki RE5 rotary engine motorcycle represented one of history's most dangerous engineering experiments, combining Wankel rotary technology with motorcycle application in ways that created unprecedented mechanical failure modes. Suzuki's attempt to revolutionize motorcycle propulsion instead created a machine notorious for catastrophic breakdowns. The RE5's 497cc rotary engine produced power through combustion processes that differed fundamentally from conventional piston engines, creating heat and vibration patterns that Suzuki's engineers didn't fully understand. The result was an engine that could fail suddenly and catastrophically, often with little warning to riders. Rotary engines require apex seals to maintain compression, and these seals proved extremely vulnerable in motorcycle applications. When apex seals failed, the engine would lose power suddenly and completely, creating dangerous situations where riders found themselves without propulsion during traffic or high-speed operation. The RE5's cooling system couldn't manage the rotary engine's heat output effectively, leading to overheating problems that could cause seizures or fires. The engine's unusual combustion characteristics meant that overheating often occurred without traditional warning signs, catching riders unprepared for mechanical emergencies. Suzuki's rotary technology required specialized maintenance that most mechanics couldn't provide, meaning many RE5s operated with deferred maintenance that made them even more dangerous. The combination of unreliable technology and inadequate service support created a perfect storm for mechanical disasters. The RE5 was mechanically suicidal, but nothing compares to the bike that holds the record for killing more riders than any other machine in history. At number 1, Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11. The Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11 holds the undisputed record as history's most dangerous motorcycle, directly responsible for more rider deaths than any other single model ever produced. Its 1052cc inline-4 engine produced 147 horsepower while creating the perfect combination of accessible performance and lethal handling characteristics. Kawasaki marketed the ZX-11 as a sport touring motorcycle, attracting riders who wanted high performance but lacked the experience to handle a machine with such explosive capabilities. The bike's comfortable ergonomics and smooth power delivery masked its potential for violence until riders found themselves in situations beyond their skill level. The ZX-11's aerodynamic design encouraged high-speed riding by providing excellent wind protection and stability, but this same design created dangerous handling characteristics at the edge of performance. The bike's long wheelbase and relaxed geometry made it stable in straight lines but slow to respond in emergency situations. Statistics from insurance companies and government safety agencies consistently identified the ZX-11 as having the highest fatality rates of any motorcycle model throughout its production run. The combination of high performance, widespread availability, and appeal to inexperienced riders created casualty numbers that exceeded defeated all other motorcycles. The ZX-11's legacy as the ultimate motorcycle killer stemmed not from poor engineering, but from the deadly combination of exceptional performance and mass-market accessibility that put track-level capabilities in the hands of riders who couldn't handle them safely. These bikes weren't built to forgive mistakes, but some great ones get ignored. Click here to see 15 cheap motorcycles nobody buys, but should, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one that could save your life.